morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Bass Fishing Basics. We need to do a little bit of housekeeping before this week's episode, so let's dive in. Guys, we're getting close to 30 episodes in now, and I just think we need to reiterate a few things. Right at the beginning, when we started the channel, I laid down some channel rules. And obviously, where some people may be coming in now, they might not watch those early videos. I encourage you to. There's a lot of interesting information on them, but I just want to reiterate a few things quickly. Number one, I will not tolerate any nastiness or bullying in the comments and things like that. Just so that we're clear, the hope here is that we have lots of people that are learning to bass fish and people that want to learn how to bass fish watching these videos. So there's going to be questions. I hope there's going to be a lot of questions in the comments from people that don't know anything about bass fishing or very little about bass fishing. If there is bullying or nastiness when people ask questions and people answer and give stupid answers, or there's bullying, I do not care. There will be no warnings. This is the warning. You'll just get canned. If you're a subscriber, I'm going to bomb you. It's as simple as that. I don't have a lot of subscribers, but I don't care. I do not want people to be bullied, especially not children. And recently, although you guys might not have seen it because I'm onto it fairly quickly, there's been some ridiculous and stupid comments or answers in the comments. They just got bombed, guys, and blocked. 95% of the views that I get on this channel are not subscribers. 95% of the views. And that's okay. If people don't want to subscribe, that's entirely up to them. As I said in that first video, I'm not going to push people to subscribe. I hope you subscribe. My biggest hope is that you share. I want you to share the videos or the links to the videos so that we can get more people that want to learn about bass fishing on board. That's the first thing. The second thing, I only get to fish once a year now. So my fishing time is quite limited. But I have been bass fishing for over 40 years. This channel is about the things I've learned in my 40 years of bass fishing experiences. And about 25 years worth, 25 years worth of tournament fishing. I'm giving away my age here. 51, guys. This is a learning channel, guys. I have zero interest in what this pro has to say or what that pro has to say. Zero. And I'll tell you why. It's not that I'm not interested. I am interested. Because I only get to fish once a year now, I probably watch more bass fishing content than most people do. It's how I stay current. The purpose of this channel is not for people to tell me what this pro said and what that pro said, because I don't care. That's not the purpose of this channel. I'm interested in your opinions. If you have an opinion on what the content of the videos is, put it in the comments. I want to know about your opinions. Please do not tell me what this pro said about this or that pro said about this. I already know most of that because I watch all of those videos too. I want to know your experiences and your opinions. That's what's important to me. It means you've taken the technique that we've spoken about that week, gone out, caught a fish, done something completely different, and it's worked for you. That's what I want to know about. because that's how I learn, and I'm going to steal your ideas and go and do it the next time I go fishing. That's the plan. That's how we learn together. And just because you've only been fishing for 3 days does not mean that I cannot learn something from you, as I hope you learn from me. I filmed a rant the other day because it was actually getting to the point of where it was aggravating me. The messages I was getting on Instagram and Facebook Messenger. It was not PG, my rant. So I decided not to post it. I may post it at a later stage. I don't like being upset. I don't like being negative. The whole point of this is for me to live vicariously through your experiences, guys. I used to fish 2 to 3 times a week when I lived in South Africa. And now I don't get to do that anymore. This gives me pleasure. Teaching people what I know. And guys, let's be clear on this. I do not know everything. I do not. And I learn every time I go fishing. Every single time that I go fishing. And I hope that never stops. It would be a sad day for me when I stop learning about bass fishing. That's the end of this rant. It just, guys, think before you do stuff. Please, just think. All right, enough of that. Let's get into today's topic. Today, we're going to talk about something very exciting, and this is another technique that we can do a few different things with. I've had a couple of questions about this, so we're going to dive in a little bit. I've got a couple of things that I'm going to show you. The other thing that I wanted to say, guys, is that people keep saying to me, that's not the only way to do that. And I'm aware of that. I absolutely am aware of that. That is the whole point. On loads of my videos, I say to you guys, there's no rules. Just because that's all the video and photos and stuff that are available about that particular product, doing that, does not mean that's the only thing that you can do with it. That's the whole point of this. So this week we're going to talk about pitching jigs. And this is a topic that other than spinnerbaits, which is coming up soon, and frogs, which we did last time, this is one that's come up the most. And it's actually quite surprising, because it feels to me like pitching jigs, and jigs in general actually, have fallen out of favor, which is very odd to me. Very, very odd. I've seen a couple of tournaments, I watched a couple of tournaments online this year where they've made a little bit of a comeback. But it is such a crawdads, which is what most jigs are meant to represent, pitching jigs in particular, and football jigs, are such a prevalent food source for bass in America, Canada, and parts of Europe, and even parts of South Africa. And also South Africa, they have river crabs, brown crab. Bass feed so heavily on them at certain times of the year. It's just strange to me that people don't throw them more. And it may be because there's more interesting lures that you can use or whatever. But there's certain situations where a pitching jig will shine where no other bait. You can put it in areas where no other bait can go. And that's a lot like what we discussed in the previous episode about the frogs. This is one of those baits where you go and throw it into the nasty stuff. So obviously we're going to do our normal close-up thing here, but that's a pitching jig. Add a trailer to that with some claws on it or whatever. It looks just like a craw. The colors, everything, the way it's laid out. So what kind of tackle do we need to fish this jig? Our 7-foot medium heavy rod would be fine for say a 1/4 ounce and a 3/8 ounce pitching jig. Fished around light to medium cover. What do I mean by that? Branches that are not overlapping, that are not tightly woven together, small bushes, that type of stuff. The minute it gets maybe even docks is a good example. When it starts getting heavier than that, you need to have some slightly heavier gear. Because of the way these jigs are designed, and I'll show you that in a minute, They're made to put into holes where you can't put anything else other than maybe a Texas rig. The difference between the pitching jig and a Texas rig is the profile of the bait. And a couple of videos ago we explained what that is. I'll explain it to you again just as an example. That's what a 1/4 ounce pitching jig looks like without a skirt. Not very much to it. And that's what it looks like with a full skirt on it. You can see when I say profile what I mean. The profile is the size of the bait, or what it looks like to the fish when it's in the water. You can imagine that with a trailer on the end of it, even though that's how it started life. So you want to be able to put something into places where you can't fish many other baits and have it to look like a big creature or whatever you want in the water to get bass to react to it. And most of the time it's either a crawdad or a crab. That's what they're meant to look like. So we're looking at big gear. A lot of the time when the water is stained, we can go straight to braid. That's not so great when you're fishing around timber. Then you would go to heavy fluorocarbon, 20 to 25 pound fluorocarbon. The braid doesn't fare well around heavy timber, big tree stumps and stuff like that. So we're looking at bigger tackle. So what are we talking about here? Well, depending on the types of cover, a 7-foot all the way up to an 8-foot heavy fast action rod. There are certain situations like grass, thick matted grass, where you would want a more moderate to fast rod, because of when the fish buries up in the grass, you want to be able to hit the fish and hold it and go to the fish without snapping the rod. And that can happen when you're using a heavy fast action rod, especially in grass, thick grass. The fastest reel you can get that's within your budget, it's kind of the same tackle that you would use to fish a frog, but you can go even longer with it on the rods. A lot of the popular heavy pitching rods that are used in grass lakes particularly are up to 8 foot. And this particular style, you can for sure cast a pitching jig, but this particular style of bait was created for flipping and pitching, which is short distance fishing. We'll get into the construction of the bait shortly, but just know that it's a heavy duty, big boy, let's get in the jungle, let's get in the thick stuff type scenario. So just to recap, big rods, fast reels, heavy braid up to 80 pound, 65 pounds, kind of the middle ground. You should be fine in most situations with that. And then 20 to 25 pound fluorocarbon when the braid does not suit. Okay, let's get stuck into this. So let's look at the construction of a flipping jig, or a pitching jig, whichever you want to call it. Let's just call it a flipping jig for today. Big start hooks, a rounded but flattish head on the bottom, place for the skirt, some type of a bait keeper on it. This is not a particularly good one, and then the weed guard. Couple of different things with flipping jigs. The weed guards are usually a lot stouter because of where you throw them. And then something else which is not common in most other jigs, you can get them with rattles. Many different types that attach to the jig in different ways. That one, for example, just slides onto the shank of the hook like that. It's got like a rubber collar. And loads of different sizes, guys. There's, depending on the situation or the scenario, from a 1/4 ounce all the way up to 1.5 ounce, and I've even seen a 2 ounce flipping jig, and that depends on what type of cover and structure you are fishing them in. Colors, I like to keep it simple. I always have black and blue, or some type form of black and blue and purple, or something like that. Always have green pumpkin. Always have some type of a orange crawish, brown summer crawish color. And then regionally applicable colors. In other words, the colors of craws in your particular lake. So here's a few examples. I believe this color is called Cumberland craw. Not sure what that is. That's like a mixture of amber, orange, green pumpkin, Missouri craw maybe. And then just another variation of brown and green pumpkin and black. You can see that the majority of the colors are very natural colors, very craw orientated colors, and in a lot of cases it will be regionally applicable colors. Looks like we're going to run a little bit long here again, guys. Let's leave it at that for today, and we'll pick it up again tomorrow morning. Finish it up tomorrow morning. See you then.